All right, it's Halloween night. Halloween night, and we're going back to back with Ready to Love recap interviews. It is Halloween. Happy Halloween from me and my little baby girl, Sugar Pie. I decided to let her come in and say hi to you guys before we get started. She's got her Halloween handkerchief on, and she is ready to talk to our guest. Are you ready to talk to Jamala? I'm ready to hear from Jamala. Let's bring Jamala on because we are here. Hey, girl.
Hey, what's up, Crystal?
Hey, now I said happy Halloween. Is that like a light It looks like you have like a light orange. Is that color coming through correctly?
It's not. This is salmon pink. Uh-oh.
Okay, well, salmon can go for a bit of, I'm all about the pink, but salmon can, we're kind of in the Halloween spirit here.
Okay.
We're trying. We're trying. We are trying. I said, I'm just going to let Sugar Pie come and say hello. She's been being a good girl. Hey, mama. So first of all, how was your Halloween been? Did you dress up this year?
No. I went for a facial,
Okay.
went and got my lashes refilled. I just got back in the country, so I've kind of been unpacking. I've been in like email jail at work.
Okay.
And now getting ready to pack again because I'm leaving the country again. So
okay, Jamala, what do you do?
So I am a senior engagement consultant, so health engagement consultant. So I'm a wellness consultant for different corporate companies. So I'm actually over the South Florida territory. So I go into these companies and I create wellness programs for them based on their employee population, their health, basically their health status.
Okay.
So it's interesting. I love it. I've been doing it for almost 9 years now, so almost a decade. I'm getting up there.
Okay. Nice.
And then my entrepreneurial activities, I have a small fleet of luxury vehicles that I rent out. I do Airbnb. Me and my little sister, my younger sister, we own a luxury hair and lash business, bundlebox.co. So
That's amazing. Congratulations. Lots of very accomplished women on this season of Ready to Love. Nice. Yeah. Very, very nice. Now, let me ask you this. I always wonder when people have corporate gigs, how does that work when you decide to go on a show like this? Did you have to run that by them? Are they cool with it? Like, how does that work?
So I didn't. Based on the time frames, it just worked out. And I pretty much can work anywhere. Pre-COVID, I travel about 50% of the time to go wherever these clients are. So I'm based in South Florida. However, like if a client is in Colorado and they have a site there, I'd be flying there anyway. So I'd be working from wherever I was remotely. Okay. With COVID, we still had it. Obviously, I'm in the health industry. We're setting a precedence about going back into the office and being, very careful with that. So we weren't even back on doing any type of like on-site meetings or anything like that. So everything was still strictly remote for me.
Okay.
So for me, it was pretty easy.
Okay. If you can put the website for your wigs, the hair and lash company, people are asking in the chat for, and I'll put it in the chat. So if you could put that in the private chat, then I'll put it in the main chat here, so people can support. Yeah. So we get off on a good start. Well, this channel is all about support. So we did just have an interview with Kayla. And so, okay, guys, I'm going to put this right here in the chat and I will check it out myself. Always looking for some good bundles, There you go. All right. The bundlebox.co. We're in there. Okay, Jamala. So with this, you are a very busy woman. Obviously, you've got your own business. You also have a very demanding corporate gig. Why was it a good time for you to go on a dating show?
I don't even know necessarily if it was. Let's just be real. Like, I think when you make this choice, it's kind of like, what am I doing? I still freak out. Like, it still is like when I look on YouTube and see my name, I'm like, who knows my name? Who's talking about me? I'm just still in a space of like, this is odd. Why did I do this? So I was recommended though. The recommendation came from good people. So my line sister said it to me, and her husband, I believe, watch it. So put him out there. We know you watch it too, sir. So she was just like, look, this show is Black Excellence. It's an opportunity for you to get them all in one space at one time, because that's the hard part. I'm gone. Like I'm an avid traveler. So it's kind of like I meet people as I go. A lot of my relationships were remote anyways, let's call it that,
Okay.
and not in the same city a lot of the time. So for me, it was just like, no. And then she was like, no, I think you should do it. And we talked to another line sister and we got together, and they just convinced me to just go ahead and apply. And
Okay.
I did. But,
Okay.
and I talked to my parents about it, and they're just like, you're so crazy. And they're just like, just do it, whatever. We'll see what happens, is where we were with it. So,
Yeah. Now, what was dating? So, with you being a jet setter and a lot, when was your last relationship prior to this?
so let's see, like real relationship, because I'd say like 2019 is when I was really into something. We were moving into that space and talking very seriously and dating exclusively.
Okay.
So I'd say like 2019.
Okay. Okay. So, and you were just like, you obviously there's not a lot of time. You don't have a lot of extra time. How did you meet that guy that you were in a relationship with back then?
So that was actually a younger guy, and it was like a slide in the DM type thing. And he
Mhm.
lived in the St. Louis area, so we made it work.
Okay. So you're open to long distance relationships. Hey,
Yeah.
Camille Jahari, I'm assuming that's your soror. Just
It's all right. Yeah.
yes. Hey, girly. Okay, so you decide to do Ready to Love. Before this, what type of guys were you into? Like, what type is Jamala attracted to?
um. Well, looks matter for me. So be
Thank you
real.
for being honest. Thank you for being honest. People come on, they try to be on the. Thank you. Okay. Okay.
I think you have to be generally attractive, a generally attractive person.
Okay.
Um,
What is attractive to Jamala? Like, what does that look like?
strong back, just like nice skin, good teeth, like a nice smile. I don't know. I always say, if I find you attractive while you're scruffy, then I can love you in at any time.
I like
So
that.
I think that's important to note, because you're not always going to be on your A game, I'd
Mhm.
say. So for me, that's something I actually look for. I look for a person who can pull off both looks and I still find them attractive. So
Yes.
that's really important to me. But as far as characteristics, I typically am with someone who is even keeled, reserved, because I'm always pretty much here. So you got to balance me.
Okay.
I don't like to be that couple where it's like both of them come in here and they're always loud and extra.
Yeah.
She's extra, he's extra. So I'm actually completely turned off by men that are like that. I prefer that guy who is just like cool, laid back,
Mhm.
reserved. That's my true preference. If I have to say that, if the guys that I've dated, they all look different,
Mhm.
right? But as far as their character, like the way they are, their personality, they're typically the opposite of me. So
Okay.
I like nerds sometimes. Like
Well,
if
everything that you're saying does point towards Randall.
it does.
Everything
Not intentionally.
from the scruffy look to the nerdy, a little bit nerdy, but most importantly, like to the even keel, laid back
Mhm.
personality. Did you initially think that he was exactly your type?
No. When because we had initially, like off of first encounter, he wasn't one of the first people I met.
Okay.
I don't know. I kind of was on at the pool, kind of just exploring, chilling, just seeing what's out there. But what initially I saw after, like, he kind of stuck his hand, I was like, "Hey, I'm Randall." He had on shorts, and
Yes.
he immediately got me. I was just like, "Okay, niece, come on, fast, come on out, fast." And I just feel like y'all don't see
He
that.
said that because we gave him a hard time about the hoochie daddy shorts, and he said that you like the hoochie daddy shorts, so that's why he wanted you to wear them. Okay.
And now he probably gets a bunch of slack about that. But oh well. That's just how I am, and I feel like you don't see that initial encounter. You kind of just see us more just like, I get very cheesy about like people I'm interested in, and I'm cheesy about love. So I feel like when you see me around him, it's more just like, oh, and you don't get to see like my personality. So I'll say Own has robbed you of getting a chance to see like me and my actual personality. But yeah, I
think everybody probably feels like that. I will say, I didn't know that I want to ask you about other people you were attracted to, but I remember watching the show, and when Randall saw you, I don't know how the cameras caught him see you walk up. But when I saw him see you, I was like, he's gone. Because it's something that he just, that was the look for him. That you were walking up, you had like this cover up, obviously very shapely, and he was like, and it just went on from there. So I wasn't surprised because I feel like attraction sets the tone, especially when it comes to men. Whatever he looks at, that he gets that response from, that's where that's where he's going to be. That's where he's going to be locked in. And that's what we saw. So we did see you look at him like that too, but it still wasn't the same way. Like when he saw you, it was just like, it was a wrap. It was a wrap. It was a wrap.
Yeah. But I think that's important, and I don't want to take that out of the equation. Lord, let him be good to look upon, like David. Let him be fine. Lord, fine and saved. Like,
absolutely. Well, I feel as though, I feel like women, too much women, there are a lot of women that are not into looks. God bless those women. I am not one of those women. And I don't ever want to be one of those women. But I think that it's unfortunate because men are very visual. But there are some women we like to look at some good stuff too. So I appreciate another sister that's like, no, I want it to look good. Like, I'm not saying that's the most important thing, but it is important. I don't want to be laid up with something I gotta like take a mood relaxer to sleep with. Like, I don't want to do
that. Tell the truth. Okay.
So was there anybody else that you were attracted to physically when you guys first got to the pool party?
I wouldn't say first got to it because there were moments that people popped in at different times. And I was like, where did you come from? Where did you come from? Like Devin, for instance. I don't think I saw Devin until lunch. Like once we broke for lunch. And I was like, okay, this guy's attractive. I thought everyone there looked attractive. Samson was attractive. And we were talking about his tattoos and his name. And we had a conversation. I'm like, you look great. Like he was just like a nice looking, a generally attractive person, exactly what I would say. And I think everyone there pretty much had that look.
But who was Jamala attracted to? Because they were all, but then it could be like some people, I can understand that he looks good, but that's not really like not my stilo, right?
Right.
So was there anybody besides Randall that you were kind of feeling?
Mm-hmm. So Mike popped in later on as well. Okay. So Mike, I was attracted to Mike. I was attracted to Devin, and I was attracted to Randall. And I think all three of them look different, completely different.
Yeah, they do.
An attraction to all, a true attraction to all three of them. Like,
okay. I just want to shout out for that. First of all, thank you guys for the chat, for tuning back in. I'm so excited that we are able to do back-to-back conversations tonight. I want to shout out Samson. Looney, shouts out to Looney, who's in the chat as well. But I do want to shout out both Samson and Devin, who are both very attractive guys, very nice guys. They came out to a conference that we had and talked about, dating, and were both very.
Oh, that's dope.
They were very cool. So I just want to, Devin, actually, I had a chance to really get to know him. He's really actually a more level-headed than the show, showed. Very.
So they did show up. I saw you promoting that. So good. They were there.
Yeah, they did great. They came out and literally offered to come, had a great attitude, were kind, very nice guys. So I just want to shout them out. So everybody is there, nice looking, but you are initially attracted to Randall in the knees, and then later Mike, and that's that. So that's where we're at after the first mixer.
Yes.
Okay. Very different looks.
Devin, and I'll say Devin again, and I got to know Devin more at the brunch at what is it? I can't think of it right now. Bar One, sorry. At Bar One, I got to know, and I realized at that point, like Devin was still on like a journey of where he was himself, and a man on a journey is a
good way to put it.
Yeah. He was still on a good journey, a spiritual journey as well, and still finding himself out more. And I was like, okay, he's in a place where I'm not. So, but funny as ever, hilarious. Like Swayze, Devin, and Randall together. I mean, crying, laughing is how I have it. It's
so you were not attracted to Swayze initially?
I felt that he was an attractive person.
Just
again,
not
going
your
back
thing.
to being mutually attractive. But we literally fell into friendship so easy,
Yeah.
like just being cool, that it just came off as like, I always say like he's the Martin to my Pam, and that's our relationship too. Like that's how we go at each other.
Okay.
But he
Okay.
still like has love for me. You get what I'm saying? So it's kind of just like he just somehow fell into like this brother, and I feel like I fell into this sister vibe for him, where it kind of was just like
Yeah.
no. And then it was just like, ew. And then
Yeah.
I actually was there to witness at bar one how this organic attraction between him and Kay was happening. And I stood back. I actually took all of the pictures, those pictures that are from bar one of like where they
Oh,
just
wow.
somehow end up hugging. They end up next to each other, hugging, embracing, and she's kind of pulling
Mhm.
away, but she's still there. And
Yeah.
what's so crazy is right after that moment, and I'm watching it happen, Swayze and I had to go on a date. So it's like, I'm not getting into this. I actually was so enamored by what I saw
Yeah.
because it
So
just
you want to? Because people have been asking me to ask you, um, and all the people that have been on the show, do you feel like the couples are organic? And so it sounds like you do believe that Swayze and Katie do have a real organic connection.
yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So let's go back to Mike because we didn't see any of you and Mike together. So did you guys have a chance to date? Did you have a chance to kind of get to know him? Where did that initial attraction lead?
So the initial attraction, like as mentioned, was at the pool,
Mm-hmm.
and his way of maneuvering and handling Kay was probably one of the sexiest things I've ever got to witness.
Okay.
Because he just was able to like answer her questions directly, and
Mm-hmm.
then he was looking for more too. He was like, and then what's next question. And I looked him deep in his eyes and I was like, I'm in love. This is amazing. Like, so where are you going after this? Like, what are we doing? So from there we had a group date
Mm-hmm.
um, at the bowling alley. So we
Okay.
actually sat and spoke probably twice at those opportunities, and I was very vocal anyone I went on a date with. And later on, like at the getaway house, when I'm talking to ladies, I made it very clear and apparent, but it's never shown, that I say I actually am not leaving this process. I don't want to leave this process in a relationship with anyone. So I said I want to come out of this and date exclusively.
Okay.
I
Why
don't know
did
if,
you say that?
because this is a production at the end of the day. I was like,
Yeah.
no. Once I started realizing what's happened, I want to see what you are going to do when Tommy's not there to tell you it's romance week. It's romance week. Take her out on a date. I
Mm-hmm.
want to see if we go out on a date when and there's no production there to say, hey, pull Jamala's chair out. Pull
Yeah.
Jamala, like whispering to you while I'm standing there. Are
Yeah.
you going to do that on your own? Or will you do that on your own volition? Like, I want to see who you are outside of the distractions that are placed in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
What are you really like outside of that? And I was
Okay.
adamant about it. Like so
So
no
did you feel differently when you initially started? Did you initially think, because I'm sure people that you go into it knowing that that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants you to come out and pick and end up in a relationship. So did something happen that kind of changed your thought process after
no
you became a part of production?
no. I'm gonna say just like Uncle Clifford got his rules, Jamala has Jamalations 37555. I have my different ones that I go down, and that was one of the things. I wouldn't even have done the show if it forced me to be in a relationship or forced me to get married. I was like, I'm not doing anything where I'm going to show. I'm not going out here to be the next Joseline Hernandez. That's not me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to be kissing everybody in the mouth. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to go on a show that requires me to stay in the house for a very long time, the whole time. Because
Yeah.
then he coming to bring me toilet paper now. Oh, he was in a room creeping around at 2 a.m. Like that's on the camera catches.
Yeah.
And lastly, like, yeah, I wasn't going to um be forced to get married or forced into anything.
Okay. I get, you know what? That's interesting because I do feel like from what we saw, and we talked to Randall about this, so I want to hear your side. It
Mhm.
did seem like you guys were really moving fast.
Mhm.
Like, especially from what we saw on the edit on your side, more so than his. Randall just kind of was always looked a little haggard. Like he always seemed like the process was a lot for him, but it seemed like you were really really into him really early on. Do you feel like that was a true representation of how you felt, what we saw every week?
Nah. Like, I don't think it's represented well. And obviously, you can't see the behind the scenes
Right.
and the effort that goes into it. So off camera, we have great banter. We have great chemistry. Our alignment for the most part is where I'd want to see something like that happening. But knowing that you're here for a tight period of time, for me, I just, if I don't like Tom, Dick, and Harry, and I know that we're not going to work. I
Yeah.
like Matthew and Bartholomew. This is where I'm going to be and put my time in. So I
Yeah.
was extremely intentional because if I'm going to make it to the end of this process, if that's what's in it for me, I want to make sure that I gave my all to where it was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm using discernment on who is for me and who I know. You're great. You're a great human. You were casted for a reason. You should go be great wherever you're supposed to be great at, just not here.
Yeah.
So for me, that's what it was. I was intentional with my time.
Okay.
And between the conversations that I've had with all of the men, I was able to like appropriately place where me and Randall fell. So me and Rod are just like, cool, two peas in a pod, like,
Mm-hmm.
and growing. And our conversation was very, very specific and very deep, and got to know each other very fast because of the amount of time that we're on the phone for.
Okay.
And
So that's why it's because Kayla mentioned that I guess, everybody said that they put you guys on dates. So did you and Randall have a chance to date a lot, or was it more conversations on the phone? How did this falling happen? Because Randall said to us that by the time we saw you guys on the date with the olive juice, that was what he really wanted, that energy from you. Like he had been putting in a lot that we didn't see, and by the time you guys got there and you started to show it back to him, that's where he was really, he was really happy because that's the energy that he wanted. Is that does that align with how you feel?
yeah, so the date that we did go on, where you kind of see us more like there's something there, like what's happening and what's brewing. By that time that happened, and it's actually not shown, it's on our own exclusive. Like
Mm-hmm.
our conversations on the phone, I'm kind of mean. Like I'm spicy on the phone. So I'm just spicy. I'm like, that's cute. You said that sounds good. I'm just kind
Mm-hmm.
of giving it
Mm-hmm.
back to him. And yeah, you're being flirty, but are you serious? Like,
Right.
don't play with me if you're not serious. Like, where are you going with this? And he kind of was just laying his intentions on into a space where, okay, well, I feel like you are truly invested in what the time that we've already put in. So
Mm-hmm.
with that, other dates that you see, you don't see, is at bar one. So we did have a sit down at bar one. You don't see that sit
Mm-hmm.
down. Um, and then, did we get to the all white party yet? By the time you see the olive juice,
I don't remember if that was first or that was, I can't remember where that is, but you can just tell us from your.
so the all white party, that was when Tommy would kind of was like, this is your opportunity to kind of start telling your connections, like who you're serious with, where you want this to go. And he says
Right.
it, and he says, it's you who I'm interested in. We get a small clip of it,
Mm-hmm.
not too much in depth, but you see my conversation. I'm like, you laying it on thick.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, at this point, when we get to our let's call it the candle date or the olive juice date,
Mm-hmm.
we are already, again, like locked in, is really his word too. So we're locked in and we're invested and we're here. And it was time for me to kind of show him, like, no, I am interested. I'm listening to the things you've said to me before. We talk about your mom all the time. We talk about back home in Maryland. Like, let me let you know I'm interested in that. I have questions for you too. So that was my way of showing his interest. And I know a lot of everyone doesn't know Ross, so they don't know his facial expressions. They don't, like, I know this is piquing his interest by the way he's responding, and his head is down, and I can tell when he's nervous. I can tell when he's sweating from his forehead. It's just
Mm-hmm.
different from sweating from his palms. So I'm noticing all of this, and I'm like, oh, he's receptive. But watching it back, I'm like, he don't look like he's bored. What is happening?
Well,
But
he looked consistently through the entire show. Just he did, except for that clip where he saw you walk in. He looked overwhelmed. He looked overwhelmed, and that particular scene, we talked about it on the after show, because women, when we give men a nickname, we do little things to try to set ourselves apart from them, right?
Mhm.
So it felt like there was a lot on your end going into really making him see this as something that was different than everybody else. What was you guys' conversation like as far as the process? Because it seemed like your process and his process were very different.
So in his time of pursuit, like off camera, which was consistent every day, I'm talking like 6 to 8 hours a day. Like we're able to move in that way because of our jobs. So we were able to do that and be on FaceTime and working and doing what we need to do. So our conversation,
So was he? I just have to ask real quick. Was he calling you that much? That's a lot of hours on the phone with anybody. He
every
was
day.
calling you. Okay.
Yeah. So
Wow.
from in the morning, we'd start. And I'm just like, I'm gonna show you me. So I'm working from home, you call, I'm in a whole gray face mask. What's going on? Like, and he actually has pictures because he started this thing where he would like take pictures, like of embarrassing pictures of me making faces and stuff like that. So the conversation around the process, truly in the beginning, like I said, I kind of was just hesitant and kind of touch and go on where, and if he was serious, right? And for TV and what it was. So for in the beginning, it kind of just was like, we're not really talking about the process. He's telling me his interests and I'm leaving it at that. And then it eventually got to a place of like, okay, well, the process is coming down to an end. Where are you with that? And I had heard from him basically like, all right, the 3 is too much. I know Trinika was one of the first people he was talking to production about, like, it's just not there. I want to go. And he said this, he's said this on other interviews I've actually caught and heard, like that, yeah, he was looking to friend zone her in that space, and production wouldn't let him do that.
Okay.
So honestly, the stress, I'm feeling it from him, even in our conversation. I'm just like, what do you want me to do about it? Like, do what you need to do. So by the time we get to the house, I'm ready to Cam and Lauren it. Let's get out of here. Like, this process is over. Forget this process. The hell with this process. To be real, to be honest.
Place. He did it. He admitted that it was his fault, the reason that you were at the place that you were. But then when you guys got to, I'm wondering if he really was telling you that he's trying to friend zone Trinika and how he feels about you. Why were you so? What happened at the vacation or the retreat? Why you would act like that if you did know that he really was into you? He was telling you in his own way. So where did that energy come from? Obviously, you know that the energy that everybody is going to allude to, the tickling of the scrotum and just the whole thing. Like, where did that come from if he had been doing the most to assure you? And especially if you knew that Trinika was really not what he wanted and he was asking to be out of that. Where did that energy come from?
I'm going to say it was a human moment, right? And like I said, by the time we get to the house, I'm ready to, like, this process. And that's honestly the energy I went in with was, this is a vacation. And I also went in it, like, at that time I'm going to say I was cramping. Like, I needed like the warmth of Ra around me. Like, I was emotional, highly emotional, but also like I'm holding you accountable to the things that you say. Like, you're not going to convince me 1 + 1 = 85 ever. Like, I'm just not that person. So here we are. And then you can see the grand statement of all the other men around in the home making that statement.
Right.
So I know it's hard. I know it's different. It's a tough decision, and matters of the heart are obviously important to every single woman. And I'm trying to be appeasing of that, I guess. And by the time we're at the house, I'm just like, I'm over it. Like, now, if he wanted to say, all right, like, I didn't get that from him as far as like, okay, when we get to the house, this is going to be the process of what I'm doing. And I didn't get that information. And I feel like for me, sometimes I just need to be communicated with to say, like, this is what I'm going to be doing. But when he walks into the house, which is not shown like that at all, like, he's actually walks up with Kayla. So he's actually mouthing to me, are you okay? So I'm like, yeah, because it's fine. Like, okay. So they sit down together, and it was kind of like a hugged up moment. So I'm just sitting there, and it's fine. And then it was just like hands around his thigh, and it was just a lot. And then it just continued to grow that way. So we never had our opportunity to have another conversation. And like he mentioned and has mentioned, like things were going on with his car situation. So he was frustrated. Like before he even got to the house, he calls me and he's like, look, I'm not coming. Like I'm upset. Like he was heated. He was upset with the tow truck company, and all this stuff was going on. And I was able to calm him down and let him know, like, finish what you're doing and just come and, figure out everything else later. And I know production came up to me and was like, oh, call him back. And I'm just like, this isn't a TV moment. Like he's having a real situation happen in real life. And I'm not going to do that to him on TV and not give him a heads up or anything. I was like, he'll be here. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Do you feel like Kayla was doing some of that to get under your skin?
I think Kayla was playing a game, and this wasn't a game for me. This wasn't we have this process, but this isn't a competition or a game for me. So where Ra and I are at that point, we say I love you. So I actually say that in the getaway house at maybe like day 2 when Tommy's talking to us. But that clip's not shown, and that's where I actually start talking to them about what that's going to look like for me outside of this process. Like what is that going to go into? How that's not a situationship. It's what I'm choosing to do because of how this is going. Like it's hard to foster true relationship coming out of a reality TV show. And I think we see that in the amount of success stories coming out of this show.
That is definitely, it speaks to the authenticity of a lot of the people that come on the show are not really there for that. But I'm wondering,
I will say, I don't think we talk enough about like the mental strain that it takes to do that, and the emotional ties when I'm over here running 3 businesses and working at a corporate company and got to come film and then deal with all these different personalities on top of the other personalities I just finished dealing with. It's a lot. And then watching it and then watching it back. So in real time, so we know we've been cut filming, but we're watching the part 1 and part 2 play out. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm side-eyeing you. Like, you said that? Like, and we don't know if he really said that or if it was cut to make it sound like that, because I know from what they show me walking around the house, following around, is actually me walking initially out the door to the pool, but they use that clip to make it look like I was walking towards the rooms, but the rooms are the opposite way. So if I know, I can always try to be sensible in it, but in the same moment, it's kind of like you're going back and forth between what's reality and what's not reality. So it's tough. Like, I feel like if couples come out of it, y'all gotta be locked in for real. Like it's a strong.
I know, I do. And Camille said, we can't tell what. I'm sure I couldn't. I'm not strong enough to go on a show like that. I would never do that. But I do think that there are some people that sign up for the show. There are some people that truly believe in love and really believe that they're just crazy enough to think, I may find my person. There are other people that go on that show thinking this is going to give me some great publicity and I'm going to be a TV star. So when you mix those 2 elements, it's not going to go. And I think that's what we're responding to. That's what the viewers are always saying. You can tell when people are trying to play a game versus when people are actually like, they really like the person. So if you and Randall are telling each other you love each other, that doesn't sound like, I guess you can say I love each other and stay dating exclusively, but that sounds like it's moved past dating exclusively to something that is very substantial, right?
Right. It was hard to because at that point it's going against what I'm saying I want, right? But the emotions of it have now drifted into something like we're trying to grasp and contain and be like, oh my gosh, like we're moving fast. Like, but by the time we even catch that, we're already there. So the reason I act like that at the house was because truly that's my boundary. Like, this is a bed we may possibly share. You're not gonna come lay on here with these seasoned feet in this bed that we're supposed to lay on. Like, sorry, that's just not how I was.
So wait a minute, you and Randall talked about the fact that you guys would stay together during the vacation or the retreat.
So the way the conversation went was more like, okay, so what are we doing? Like, and I'm just asking in a way, I'm very tongue in cheek and sarcastic and things like that. And he was like, well, where else would I be staying? It's kind of like where he was with it. But I didn't even like the response. It kind of was just like, well, what do you want to do? What is, and we kind of just never got there. And everything was going on, like I said, outside of the show. Real world was happening for him. So like that was what was taking precedence as far as the conversation going. So when we got there, some of my stuff was already there in the room. And that's when I was like, okay, well, then maybe what I'm thinking isn't what it really is. Like, if you want to make a choice there, stay there then, because this, for me, like I said, is a boundary. And it's not a boundary we had been able to discuss. Like, if somebody's going to be in a room that we're sharing, obviously there was no way to know that was going to happen for us to even discuss, like, this is a boundary for me and I find this disrespectful. But at the end of the day, like, me watching back, I was like, this is a win for me, because I wasn't violent. I didn't come in there throwing shoes. I didn't even address them. I came in there with a church finger. Let me get my stuff and remove myself, and we'll talk about it later.
Right.
Maybe our love, because love obviously has a spectrum. So maybe the love should just be in friendship and allow you to do what you want to do, sir. You can go that way, but let's be just clear in what it is. Again, I'm going to hold you accountable.
Yeah. So when you said about the tickling of the scrotum, that sounded like there was more going on than just them talking. Because that sounds like there's some type
They're
of
handsy. It was handsy. But again, I'm very tongue in cheek. That's why he's sitting there looking at me like, because that wasn't happening. But he knows my personality. So that's why he's just like not saying anything, like, girl, come on. But that's just me referencing like the hand around the thigh, just like leaning in. But you all don't see all that. You just see on the pool side. You don't see what happened prior to that. And it was like, all right, now, like, you saying something, you're not saying something, like, what's happening? Like, again, you start questioning reality and questioning what's really happening. And we don't ever have an opportunity to have a discussion about it.
Do you feel like after all of this has, played itself out, do you feel like Randall did what he should have done as the man in the relationship to basically make sure that you were in a position where you weren't left out there? Do you feel like, do you fault him for the fact, because he did say that he wanted to friend zone Trinika, but then he also said that he started getting close with her again after the retreat, and he also seemed like he was still open, because if he was absolutely going to friend zone her, then how is he still open? Because your behavior perhaps, but that also just seems like he's still open for other stuff. So do you fault him for not putting clear boundaries out?
Yeah, I think that's where all of our arguments come in. Like, who's taking accountability for what?
Yeah.
I have to take accountability for my response, my emotional reaction, right? He has to take responsibility for kind of not drawing a line or allowing him being upset to then trigger everything else that comes after that. And what's happening, what people are forgetting, I want everybody to truly have a human moment and think about that. Like, we're having our first like argument, like real argument playing out on national television.
Yeah.
Like, that's real life occurring. You know what I mean? And I'm being very, again, sarcastic, and he knows that I'm exaggerating. He's aware of what I'm saying when I'm like, she's tickling you're scrolling, like, it's me saying like, she's too close, like, she's handsy, and you're not doing anything about that either. It's not just her, it's you as well.
Right. Because it's like, it sounds like, what it sounds like, Jamala, is that you're saying we're supposed to be just the two of us. She should not be, because if the girl shouldn't be touching him, then there's an understanding that you guys are in a situation where it's just the two of you guys. But if he's still in the process, then it really isn't wrong for Kayla to touch him, right?
Right. And the thing is also for me, it's like the way he's being touched. You know what I mean? So it's just like, again, no one else has sat in this space and experienced that to know, to say what you would do. It all sounds good.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I never do that. And those are the type of people
but I do think in the dating process, we all have dated, right? And until you get to the point where you guys are exclusive, that's just, dating is hard, because if you really like somebody, it's difficult to think about them with other people unless you are at a place where you're ready to make that commitment, and then you can say either we're going to do it or not. But I acknowledge it's a very difficult situation. But the difference is, in the dating process, we're not seeing it in our faces, right? You guys are seeing it. So maybe you don't know what you'll react like when you see it. I get that. But I'm just asking, I guess, did he do something wrong? Or do you feel like you just had an emotional reaction to seeing what could be happening with anybody that's dating just having it put in your face. Do you think that was the issue, or do you feel like he was wrong?
I can't say that he was wrong because, again, he didn't know my boundary. So the touching is expected. So him sitting there touching me, reacting and saying that is just me reacting and being exaggerative in my expression of what I was seeing. Okay. That's not even what the problem was. The problem was being in a room that we may share. Because we still were deciding on what room. My room is upstairs, and we ended up, like, there was a lot of shifting of rooms because I ended up sharing a suite with, so it's me, Ra, a bathroom, and then Mike and Brandy. But originally it was Katie and Swayze, and then me and Ra. But there was enough rooms once production had placed Ra in the room downstairs. It was a matter of, are we staying upstairs? Because you see us talking in a one room that's over a balcony. That's not even the room that we're on. The room we end up on is facing outside the front. So we're still deciding on what room to be in. So, and then I'm kind of also grateful that I saw that, because I don't want to lay in that bed now. Like, that's not the bed, and that's not the room we sleep in. Like, I was adamant about that. So I if he was aware of my boundary, I would absolutely say, like, I fault you for crossing a line for me. And I have to be real. That's just the line that I had. The touching is one thing. The consistent conversation, that's fine. I see where production is pulling you from me and placing you there, and that's another reason why I was upset. When you look back at the all cast dinner at the Red. A lot of the ladies were in red. We ready to wrestle. We wrestling each other unintentionally, y'all. There's name cards on the table. So I end up with Samson and Sharice. And he ends up at a table with Kayla, and then across from Tranika. So it's just like he keeps being placed places. And at this point, I'm irritated. Like, by the time we get to the house, I'm tired of this placement. It's just like, this is time for us to really hone in and discuss some other things that we want to talk about as this process is winding down to the end. It's mixed reviews. It's more about, like, just holding him accountable. Like, we're here because we're in this space and we're both stressed out. Like, a lot of people talk about the stress of Randall. Like, do you not see it on my face? Like, I'm about to get sat down at the church because I'm talking about don't tickle scrotums. Like, I have to face that, I'm irritated. You're looking at me by the time of the reunion, I'm over 20 pounds of weight loss. Like, I'm just as stressed. Like, the argument from that house on just continues because where do we go from here? Yeah. But that's real life. That's how relationships are.
That is how relationships. That's how dating is. That's why I said this show is just it's a reflection of the real dating pool. I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to see it. So you don't know what you'll do if you had to see it. But that's also, that's part of what comes along with signing up for the show. Yeah. So after you guys left the house or left the weekend excursion and went back, it seemed like things were never quite back to a good place. Pretty much. It feels like, even listening to you explain that, it still feels like we go together, but we don't go together. So where are you guys at? Because the things you were expecting of him sounds like you guys are in a relationship, but then it's like we're not. So where did the tension continue after that excursion? Because even though you guys ended up leaving together, it just felt like it was still kind of rocky because of that time.
Yeah, we pretty much never came over the hump, and we just continued disagreeing and trying to find a space of, like, well, who's going to take what, like, accountability? Where are you going to say, like, all right, I understand why you're frustrated, and I'm looking to hear that from him, and I'm not hearing it from him. It's more of just like this process. And I'm like, listen, Tommy not here no more. You can tell Comas right now, respectfully. I said, hell no. Like, you know what I mean? Sorry, Tommy. Like, I don't want to hear about this. This is a process anymore. At some point, it just got real for me. And I was already struggling. I just felt like, I'm having, like, this whole, like, existential crisis at this moment. Like, this is too much.
And it's because he's not what I signed up for. It's because he's not willing to set boundaries and actually make why is the stress on your part? He was very clear about himself, whether people agree with it or not. Whether I agree with it or not, he was clear. He didn't feel like he was being allowed to make his own process. And he didn't say that he felt like he he should have done better with you, but he also said he was committed to the process, going through the whole process. And your stress was because he would not make that clear that it was going to be the two of you guys. I'm just making sure I'm correct in where the stress is coming from.
So it was he made it clear from probably before the candle day, way before the candle day, because the olive juice, that wasn't the first time he had heard it. We've been saying that already, and that's like an insider as a joke. Not even saying I love you, but it was a joke like, oh yeah, girl, you know you love me, whatever. And I'm like, yeah. Like that's where the joke came from, and me telling him about that. So for me, it was just like he made it clear that I'm choosing you. It was out of his own mouth. He said it verbatim. I plan on finishing this process with you. Like I'm committed here. I'm locked in. Like he made that clear there. So like I said, it was kind of just like watching a contradiction happen, and I didn't know what was happening because we didn't discuss that. And watching how things were playing out, and as you mentioned, like you hit the nail on the head, like the boundaries that I was expecting him to set, I didn't see him setting them. You know, so when he did call me out when we were in the room. It's not shown. I don't think they show that part where he's just like, for you to be a woman of God and have so much faith, you had no faith in me. And I was like, lost it. Like, I was like, Dad, you're right. I take accountability. So at that moment, again, Jamala Lations 577, no crying on camera. Thank God there was no cameras there, but he called me out. Like that was something that, if we're talking about what's deep with us, was what drew me into him, is that he was my mirror, and he did it with tact a lot of the times. That would call me out, and I would have to sit back and think and say, like, yeah, I was overreacting, or I am being self-sabotaging, or whatever it is. Like, I didn't come in here, and I always say to him, I never promised you perfect. Like, I know when you met me, that's what you thought. Let me clear this up for you. So for me, it was truly like the boundary that I was hoping that he would set, and the expectations that we didn't get a chance to discuss. Like it's all just happening at once because the process is moving fast, and what's occurring between scenes are moving so fast. So I think that was another thing that happened. So once everything happened at the house, we never have an opportunity to truly discuss it. He's just mad. And there was at one point where he was like walking away from me, away from the house. And I'm like, and we're arguing. So I'm walking away from me. Like I'm walking after him. And then it's dealing with like, Miss Tranika who came out the house and it's like, are you okay? Like you see two people, this is a real moment. Go call LJ. Like I'm just like frustrated at that point. Like, and she's like, do you okay? And she's only talking to him. And it's like, you see what this is. Like talk to, are y'all okay is what I was even looking for her to say. And I'm like, girl, good night. Like,
but she's there playing. One thing about Tranika, she was there doing what she was supposed to do, which was she was there. She did like Randall. So but
it felt like for me, it was just like more people pacifying when I needed you to take accountability in what it was, and hold me accountable as well.
Yeah.
But again, so my point is, we don't even get a chance to talk about it at the house, because from there, like there's a point where they don't show it, but after it happened, he's just with me. But production is literally like, Randall, come on, we're gonna sit you with Tranika now. Randall, come on, we're gonna take you over here. Like Randall, come on. So we never talk about it, and then we go back into real world. I'm at work, he's at work. We really don't even want to talk to each other. 6 hours is getting shut down in timing. We're not talking like that. And when we want to talk about it, it's so frustrating to go back to that space. I've completely come out of character. I know for him too, for both of us, it feels like it set us back a bunch of years. Like all this healing and wholeness that I said I was, I'm like, you just triggered me to a space that I don't ever want to see again.
That's the point. I think so. Obviously, I'm sure you've seen a lot of the comments. People were suggesting that you might have been a little possessive, right? And so what do you have to say to that? Because that energy of what we saw at the house did look like you were a little possessive. You know, just on a situation where you didn't really, even though he's telling you, and you know, production is placing him with different women, you still were territorial at the very least. But you agree with that?
Yeah, I admit that. I say that I'm territorial about the gym equipment as well. Don't sit on my treadmill. It's a treadmill I want to run on. And that's just me being irrational in those moments. And I'm obviously a sane person if I can call out when I'm being irrational. So I'm just as sane when it's like, no, I know what's wrong and what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And I am able and valid in my feelings to tell you and be able to communicate to you what is a boundary for me. So, and even with when we say like territorial, even with him as my friend, like I wouldn't want anybody saying anything crazy about him, or like I'm just not gonna let you act any type of way about somebody I care about.
You can't control that though. But you can't control that though.
I'm like that with my friends as well. Just, I want the best for them. You don't want the wrong people. If you see something, you're going to say something to your friend. So
yeah,
if I was to give an example of it, like,
okay.
So I'm not going to say possessive. I think also that term and that word came up like from production, seeing us arguing, he's walking away and I'm walking after him, and like, because I don't do the fight or flight thing. Like I don't do this whole dismissive thing. Like, I used to be a very dismissive person, but if we're in this and we need to have we need to stop and have a moment to communicate.
Yeah.
But his style is different. He needs time to regroup. Again, we're still learning each other, and this is our first argument. I'm learning that for the first time there.
Yeah.
So everybody kind of like, not everybody, his other connections in production kind of carried this whole like possessive following after him at the house. And then I don't know, I guess it's to help continue to spin their narrative of what they want it to look like. But
well, I mean that doesn't matter. That's why you're here, so we could hear from your mouth. Because you guys are the only people that really know what happened. So
right.
after you left, it is weird to us to kind of understand if you guys were in this great space, you see that it's being manipulated by production, then it's hard to understand why you guys couldn't have gotten to a better place. You guys left together. It was very adorable when you chose each other. When you left, were you at a good space then? Were you guys in a better place then once he chose you and you chose him? It was, like I said, it was a really cute moment. Where are you guys at then?
Even then, I feel like I'm still talking to him about understanding me in a better way, and he's still talking to me about understanding him. Like that bridge moment, they cut what I said, and I actually said I don't even like the feelings that come out sometimes. Like you bring these feelings out of me that make me upset. Like I don't like how I respond to things. But in on the other end of that, like the laughs that we have, the way you hold me accountable, the way we find a way to meet each other halfway in the middle for the most part is what's keeping me here. And we're coming from these different experiences, but like I promise at the end of the day to be like your prayer partner, your iron sharpens iron. Like I say a whole bunch of stuff, but they cut all that out. But so where we are is being honest. We're being honest with each other, and it's honest to a point where it's like I still care so much about you, but we need to figure out how to get to a place that where either we were or move forward in a way that works for both of us.
So Jamala, what is it about Randall that does trigger you though? What is it just the boundaries, or is that the primary thing, or are there other things that we didn't see that get you to that place?
I think it's the way, I think it's the accountability. I think it's the holding boundaries. Randall's very much so new to Miami, and that's something I talk about. I typically don't date anybody who's just moved here. I talk about that with my friends, but they don't show that. I think it's his a little bit of ignorance around like thinking like I can still be friends with women that like me. It's okay. Like, and that for me, I'm never going to tell you. So as much as we're saying like I'm possessive, Randall can tell you I've never once told him that he should stop speaking to Tranika or Caitlin. Actually, never.
But do you think that, because Randall's a grown man, Randall's obviously got a way.
You have to make that decision. He needs to make that decision on his own.
Well, not only that, did you ever consider that he knows what he's doing?
Yeah, I think when he does it, but that's so for me, like I'm on as far as how quickly he wants to do these things, and if he's being a little bit of dragging in it, it's kind of just like you're delaying a lot of things from progressing in a way that would have been there already. Are you held up because of fear? You know what I mean? Is it a fear that you have that you're held up in? Or are you just like laissez-faire about it? Are you nonchalant about it? Like,
I think he's just doing what he wants to do. I think this, and it's just Crystal's opinion. I don't know Randall.
mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, in my opinion, sister to sister, as a woman, men tend to do what they want to do.
Right.
So a lot of times, especially if we're nurturing, we try to see, well, maybe he's afraid, or maybe he doesn't understand, or maybe he doesn't know that the women, he knows all of that. He's just playing all of that to his benefit. And not saying that Randall is a player, because I don't think he's a player, but I do think that I also don't think he's a pushover, and I think he knows exactly what he's doing. So I don't, and it's funny because every woman that I've talked to, we just finished talking to Kayla, everybody gives Randall a pass. And he just may have like a really sweet nature. I actually think that he is a very sweet guy, but I know just any man with a penis and a scrotum, they do what they want to do. So if he's not giving you what you want, it's not that he is naive or ignorant. He's just not doing it. That's just my opinion. And I try to be honest on here from what we see. And I think that a lot of times I've done it. All of us have done it. Every woman in this chat has made excuses for a man that, doesn't necessarily need excuses made for him, because they have all the information that we have. If he wanted to be friends with those other women, actually, so when you guys left, then he ended up going back out with Kayla. That's
both of them. Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense that he would want to stay friends, because he wasn't finished. So I just, I don't think he was. That explains why, but I just feel like for some reason, I always think that men that are like that play the good guy, or they could really be a good guy, we underestimate them, and we give them too much grace.
Why? Yeah, I think that's the difference with a lot of them, because he's looking for this peace, and I can't create peace when we're going through hell, if that makes sense. So that's why I keep saying I'm holding him accountable to what he's saying. And if you're not that, say that too, but go ahead and say it. You know what I mean? Because I don't necessarily need to, do I need to walk away? Like, that's not really crossing my mind, because I'm committed to you and what we're trying to do. And at the end of the day, this is where I said I wanted to be. We've made this agreement. We're giving we're all in. We're exclusive at this point. So coming out of the house, we're coming out of the process. When we choose each other, we are exclusive.
Okay.
So him dating other people didn't come, to my knowledge, wasn't coming until after there was a point where he and I stopped talking.
Right.
But for the most part, we were consistently still talking. Any vacation that I took, he was dropping me at the airport, picking me up. Like,
right. Why did you guys? What caused you guys to get to the break after, in a good place? Well, in a better place, exclusive, and then you guys had a break prior to the reunion. What caused that?
Yeah. So prior to the reunion, we had a stint of 8 days of not talking, I'd say. So I don't know where he got 2-3 weeks. I'm way too detailed for that. So again, something else I'm going to be like, does that add up? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know who that's for. However, that span of time that we weren't speaking, like, we got there just from, again, we're putting so much energy into this and we're not coming to a resolve. So now we're just like angry, like, okay, well, let's not say anything then. Like, it is what it is. And then eventually it kind of was like him tiptoeing, like, hey, you all right? And then we just got back into a space of like speaking again. So I know right before the reunion, that's actually when I went to Atlanta. So he dropped me off, picked me up. So again, we're not at a space where we even get a chance to spend much time because I'm leaving town. And when I came back, I was with him. Like, we had to do final interviews the Tuesday. I show up in interviews head to toe in his gear, like Equinox geared out, like, and then we ended up having an argument based on what production says to me that night. And then we had to film the reunion on Saturday.
Yikes. So that's why you guys,
that's why we look at
the reunion.
Oh no. So literally, so from a Tuesday night argument in real relationship, what happens? Like, you know what I mean? I'm not a person to, I had to learn this from my other relationships. Like you can't hold on to it
Yeah.
like for too long. But in that space, that was a rough argument. Like that argument was probably like the biggest. Like we just weren't seeing eye to eye. Like, and by the time Saturday comes around, so it's Tuesday, Wednesday, we argue, we really aren't speaking Wednesday to Thursday, and then we have to go sit and film on Saturday. So at the end of the day, like what you're seeing again is real life playing out in on the TV screen. So
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I'm glad to have not come off as fake. So when we're like we're figuring it out, that's how we really feel like we are. Like we don't necessarily want to give up right here. We just come back from not talking. We're figuring it out. And this space that you see, I'd rather you see that space between us and see how we're looking than us to be smiling in your faces and fake
Yeah.
holding up on each other. Like that's not where we were. And I'm just have to be honest in it.
No, I think that definitely came through. But I guess what I questioned the most was when you said, um, you weren't. I guess we're seeing other people, or so I've heard, or something to that effect. Obviously, you had heard that he had gone out or he had hung out with some of the other ladies from the show. Did you
That's
hear?
me being tongue in cheek again. That was for him. That's me being passive with him. Like, oh,
Yeah.
it's over because he told me. And that's the thing. I said it because it wasn't. I could hear the like the murmuring on the side, and it was like, no, you're not gonna get this one up to think like, oh, you were because you enjoy being this underhanded person that I'm not gonna state it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he probably would have preferred just not said anything, but no, let's be clear. Like I know what's going on, what's happening. When we say we're best friends and we speak about things, this is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
This wasn't for show or for anybody else here. So in that, that's why I say, and that's why, and then I say, or I know, because I did know, because again, we and I had talked about it.
So he told you that he went out with the other two ladies
During the time frame. Well, he says during the time frame that we were talking.
Okay. Um. So where are you guys now? Because it seemed very dismal. And if he, I would say this: you had an older sister on the show. If I was watching this as your older sister, I'd be like, no, ma'am, no, ma'am, like, no, ma'am. He left, even if he did not see them while you guys were together. Doesn't speak to him being serious for him to go out with the two women that you got. That just feels like he's not in the same place that you want him to be. It also seems like there's a lot of great things, but there's also a lot of bad things. You shouldn't be losing weight. You shouldn't be this stressed out in the beginning of a relationship. That's just my opinion. As like I said, what I would tell a younger sister, because your sister was on the show. So I'm asking you, where did you guys end up after the reunion?
So we go through another stint of not speaking. And to be honest, it's actually, was it Looney? I think it was actually Looney who set up for us to communicate again.
Mm-hmm.
Was that Looney? Was that during that time? We went through another stint of not speaking and eventually kind of, no, that wasn't Looney. So we end up having the premiere.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what I meant? Yeah, the premiere of the show, because the reunion is filmed obviously months in advance, and we start back. He was already reaching out, but I hadn't been saying anything back. It just was just like this was at an all-time space that I don't think I can go back to.
Yeah.
Like this is too much. And again, I say, how do you foster a real relationship? We can't go off of like in the beginning, it shouldn't be like that. In the beginning, we met each other on national television on a dating show. Like this isn't what.
Well, but that's different than it being something that hurts you, though.
Right.
Okay, we met under weird circumstances, but that's one thing. But saying this hurts, but I keep going back to it, that's different. And I'm not. I don't want you to take this like I'm just asking you questions, and I'm telling you what my honest opinion is.
Yeah.
I obviously don't know a lot about the relationship because I wasn't there. I'm just watching what edits are. But I am telling you honestly,
it's a lot.
It is a lot. And I don't feel like there's one thing that says, yes, every couple fights, every couple goes through stuff. but that's a lot. Anytime somebody can take you out of character, you guys are off on, off on. Probably years down the line, you'll look and be like, I was tripping. I shouldn't have. Girl, I had tripped a little bit, and that's cool. But when you're in it, I get it. It doesn't feel like that.
Yeah.
So you guys went through another stint of not talking, and then you started talking again. I'm assuming.
Yes. So once the show airs, we kind of fall back into a norm of where we're trying to like figure it out. Like, what is this supposed to be? Like, how do we go through these feelings of like, all right, we love each other. That's where we are. We care deeply. What does that mean? Is that enough to keep a relationship, or is it just enough to say I can love you from where I am and I love you from where you are?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I think you asked him at that time, and it was convenient because things had occurred in the outside world and we were off again. So now where we are as of today, we speak again. Like before
are you guys dating now?
No, I wouldn't say dating. I wouldn't call it dating. It's hard to also, we have to break a mold of what we're used to, and we kind of are back in that mold. So right now we are communicating again, and there's no expectations of what it is. Like, I've accepted Randall for what he is. Do I say that meets every pillar of what's necessary for me to get married to him and be in a relationship with him? Not at this moment. Like, I think the obvious is we're both in places where we still need to grow and have to be honest about that. And that growth may lead us in separate paths. And I think we're just at a place where we can be okay with that. But because that love is there, it's kind of like hard to shake. Like, I'm also, by the time I even noticed that I was losing the weight, like, you know, between production and what's going on with him, it kind of was just like, oh my gosh. Cause I'm always in this place of like, I come from an abundance of love. I'm overflowing in love. So it's not taking anything from me to give that to him, you know, and pour. I wasn't one pouring from an empty cup, and I didn't feel depleted by the time I realized, okay. And I also come from a household of like being married for 35 years. I've seen some things like both my parents are married, and they push through and work through what it is. Now it's just kind of like, how do I apply that to this situation? I think our experiences mold us, and how we're raised mold us in how we now react in relationships. So I'm seeing that play out here. But again, I think
what do your mom and your sisters say? What was their response after that date that we saw? Your mom is so cute. Your sister is beautiful.
First line of defense.
Your mom took out the note from dad. I loved it. What was their response? What was their response after that, and what has been their response moving forward?
So my sister is pretty cutthroat. I'll say that. As you saw, we got a real tame version of sis. Yeah. But in the same breath, like, it's kind of just like, you have to do what you need to do what's best for you. Like, as the season's playing out, like, so when we actually get to that episode, I was on the phone with him and she called, and we were all on three-way. And she's like, I can't believe you guys have done this. This is such a surreal moment to see me, you know, watching myself on here. And she's like, I can't believe I was a part of it. So they were having their little banter and conversation. So she's kind of just like, I like Randall. I just don't know how much time Randall needs to grow in based on where you are, which is a real assessment. Like, and I have to take into account for. And then when I think about my mom, you know, I think that's the only thing that the comments don't bother me. You can't convince me that I'm something that I'm not, right?
No.
But it was my mom watching it back and just like, man, it's hurtful to see how they're doing it, because I know how my daughter is, and that's not who she is.
Yeah.
You know? So I with her, she's more of in a space of like, I know, because there were times where I'd have to be driving back from set, and my mom would call. I'm like, oh, I'm on the line with Rod. He's gonna make sure I get home safe. So she's felt the security from him in the beginning, and throughout the season of him like really taking care of her daughter, you know, and making sure she gets home safely, and I have a long way to drive. So it's I think she's just like, you still need to see who he is. And she says that actually, you can be with somebody for 30 plus years and still not know who they are. She's very much so like, go slow. Maybe you just need to fall back into a space of, y'all are just friends with no expectations and nothing on it, because it may not be for y'all.
Yeah.
Real.
I think that just again, Crystal's opinion. This is not Bible. This is Crystal's opinion. When
I'm
yeah,
all for it. I'm all for it. Like I don't feel like a way. Like I can take. I
yeah,
love the advice. This is where growth comes in. I think it's
I
important
respect
to
you,
be able
Jamala.
to.
I have a lot of respect for you. I love how you carried your well. We all make mistakes. The tickle in the scrotum was a low moment, but I love how you carry yourself. Period.
Yeah.
You're a woman. You know, you're a professional woman. I love all the women on the show because I feel like we're all growing. Trust me. I went on a show and Yala read me my whole life, and how embarrassing. Crystal also would have liked not to cry on TV, but guess what? Crystal had some growing to do, you know. And so even though I did the ugly cry, I look crazy, but I'm so much better for it, and I appreciate that. I would say to you that Randall is a good guy, but just because someone's a good guy does not mean that you should stay in something with someone that you're not married to. You mentioned
Right.
your parents. Beautiful that you have that example, so you know how to stick and stay, right?
Mhm.
But you don't stick and stay until you're a wife or until you're on your way to being a wife. If you stick and stay with every guy, you will never. Someone said Crystal is trying. I'm not trying hard. I'm just telling her how I feel. But I
Yeah.
also respect the fact that there's a lot I don't know. But I'm just saying you don't. The only man that you should stick and stay is a man that's your husband. If
Hmm.
it is a boyfriend or someone that you're dating, and he's not sticking to you, I don't think you stick to him. I think you stick to yourself until there's a covenant which says, this is my responsibility, this is my priority. That's different. That's totally different. Now you
Right.
have to get there some kind of way. But initially, like I said, if this is my little sister, which I kind of see everybody, we're all, I am my sister's keeper.
Yeah.
So if I see my sister in a situation like that where she's going through that much turmoil,
Mhm.
in the beginning, I'm going to tell her to leave. And the reason I'm going to tell her to leave, not to be mean to him, not to be hateful to him, he could be an amazing guy. I have a lot of amazing guy friends that I was not supposed to be in a relationship with.
Yep.
But when you meet the man that is your king, Camille said earlier that you're a king, you're queen, you deserve a king, and you do. I'm not saying that Randall's not a king, but I am saying that your king will not have you losing weight initially because there's so much toxicity going back and forth. I admire the fact that you have wife bones in you and you know how to stick, but my love, you don't stick to something unless it's sticking to you. And
Hmm.
at the point, I wanted to ask you, did you go on any other dates? I hope that you have gone on other dates, because for him to have dated the other women, he's not sticking the same way that you're sticking.
Hmm.
So I would just say, and I'm not, this is out of love. We are rooting for you. Tatiana says we're rooting for you. I'm all the ladies. I told Kayla, she's a beautiful woman. It doesn't matter what doesn't work, because what will work, it will be so different. And I can say to you, Jamala,
Hmm.
after I went through that, I was on Yama Fix My Life horribly, and I was totally confused. But when I did meet my husband, it was so much, it's not hard.
Hmm.
Kojo says if it's not yes, 100% yes, it's no. And that's, to me, that's it. Like, it's not back and forth, because men know when they're ready and it's you. And if it don't feel like it's back and forth, it's back and forth. That's just, it shouldn't be like that. And
Right.
I think Randall, I really like Randall a lot. I don't know if maybe Randall's not, I don't know. It doesn't even matter if he's not ready or what. That is not even important to this conversation.
Hmm.
What's important is that you deserve different. And I'm not bashing him by saying that, I'm just, because I think he's a nice guy. But I think what you're describing is not something that will lead to happiness and a beautiful marriage. That's not it. That's not how this goes. That's not the journey.
Right.
Yes, everybody's journey is different, but this is not the journey that you need, because you're doing a lot of heavy lifting. It's a lot of heavy lifting. Even though you come from an amazing background, you still don't need to do that much lifting when it's the right one. He'll be
Hmm.
lifting too, you know? You don't need somebody that triggers you.
Right.
That means it's not, this is just, and I don't usually go into this much detail, but I just felt like I should say that. But again, you don't have to take my advice. That's just Crystal talking. I am not a therapist. I'm just a Black woman that loves my sister. So
And I appreciate it. And I think when the comments are said with tact, it's you can receive, even when they're not, I can receive what's being said. And it's not that I'm oblivious to this man needs a lot of growing. It's when we say like we're invested, when you say like you're in love, that you still have to go through that detach process. And again, this is where we are. So this is what we say when we're like figuring it out. Like,
yeah,
is the time to say clean break? Do we just not need to speak to each other? Where are we in that? You know,
yeah.
so it's
So
hard.
make
It
sure,
definitely is
make
hard.
sure wherever you end up in this, Jamala,
Hmm.
I want you to end up where it's best for you.
Yeah.
But make sure that you are doing what like attracts like. So if he is hanging out with people, baby girl, make sure that you're doing what you need to do for you.
Hmm.
That's just on some real. I'm not. It has nothing to do with me not liking Randall, because I do, but I don't feel like um if he's unsure or if he's still entertaining, then you guys will be on equal playing ground if you're in the same space at the very minimum. But
Hmm.
you know, it
It's
is what
hard
it
though.
is.
You know, real emotions are tied to it. Like,
Yeah, girl, we've all been in love. I done had
yeah.
some foolishness. Of course, of course, of course. Are you kidding? Of
Ooh.
course. We all have had situations that are, but like I told you, the funny thing about it is once you come through it and you look back, it's like, oh, girl, what was
Yeah.
you doing?
Yeah,
Every,
I'm still growing. I
yeah, we
can't stop
are.
growing. Like,
I am too. Everybody is.
still
Everybody,
figuring it out. Mm.
yeah, everybody
Like in
is.
life, right? Not including Ra in life. Like, this is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. It's
And
actually it's that's not that is normal. Everybody is
mhm,
figuring it out. You have a lot of amazing things going on anyway, so you're going to be fine. You're going to
mhm.
be just fine. I'm just saying I wouldn't be authentic to me if I didn't tell you what I thought.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you have a great foundation. You got sisters around that love you. You got sorors around that love you. You're gonna be fine. But I don't think that if I talk to you, regardless if I'm on this channel or not, and I'm not honest, then I've done a disservice to
Hmm.
my sister, right?
Yeah.
So that's what this is about. But yeah, you'll be fine. And years later, I'll see you on IG. You'll be like, girl, you was right. He was right. He was right. And it doesn't mean that he's a bad guy. It just means that he may not be your Mr. Right. Or he could be your Mr. Right years down the line. But the problem when we do that, when we think, well, maybe he's the right one, we tend to wait around. I
Mhm.
could tell y'all if I went into how many people I thought, okay, but he has all these amazing qualities and he makes me feel like this. But guess what? I wasn't his wife. So I
And
had
it's
to move on.
okay.
I
Yeah,
had to move on.
I think people think that there was no pursuit from him, and I'm just like chasing after him, and then
No,
that's
he was honest about that. In our interview, he said that he did pursue you. In fact, he said that he was the one that was doing the most pursuing. And then when he finally got that energy back from you, he was happy. He also acknowledged that he loves you. And he did not say anything negative at all about the relationship. I have a lot of respect for him. All he said was that we just it's just not working. We just kept trying, and it didn't work. He never made it seem. In fact, he said that he didn't like the fact that it looked like you were the one doing more than him, because that wasn't the case. He definitely was honest
Mhm.
about all of that, you know? So, girl, you have nothing. Hold your head up. Keep living. We're talking. The people in the comments and myself are talking, but we've not gone on a show. I've gone on a show, but it was different. And I'm telling you, did I look crazy? Hell yeah. Did I? I totally look crazy. But guess what? It was Iyanla needed to check me. I needed to hear that. So you didn't have that experience. You had a much better experience in the fact that you got a chance to learn and grow, and you met a guy that, you know, did care about you. It just may not be your guy, your
Yeah.
final guy, but you didn't have a bad, you know, it wasn't a bad experience. I'm sorry, my husband peeked in like, what is happening? Babe, but no, I appreciate you're going to be fine. I appreciate you being honest
Yeah.
and sharing your heart. And like I said, he was very honest also, and basically, you know, definitely had your back about a lot. I'm just telling you, outside of him, not
Mhm.
us, it's going to be different.
And I've heard that. It's not like I haven't heard it, but I'd be remiss to say like I'm sitting here and we don't have these conversations. We have these real honest conversations. Some relationships just have to have that conversation. And right now we're lucky to be in a space where we're not like screaming down each other's throat. So I know that may seem weird to hear from everyone else where you got to kind of just be yelling and going at it. It doesn't always have to be like that.
Yeah.
You know, so they're like cut off cold turkey. It's kind of just like we can just go our separate ways and be like, be great,
Do
bro.
what makes you feel, do what makes you comfortable, but
Mhm.
figure out why those things make you comfortable. That's to me and this is not an intervention. This is an interview. We're finishing up. The comments are hilarious. But I think do what feels right to you,
Yeah.
but figure out why that feels right. So for me,
Hmm.
what felt right to me was something familiar, but it was not the right thing for me. So I
And that
was
happens.
yes, it does.
Mhm.
It's life. It's life.
It
It's
is
life.
life.
Last thoughts from
Hmm.
you on what did you learn from this experience?
Oh, that's good. What I've been saying is that whole thing. So I remember being in interviews like I'm a whole person, mentally, spiritually, physically. Like I'm there already. And what I learned was that wholeness is a continuous effort,
Yes.
and it doesn't stop. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So even when I'm whole in the moment of in certain relationships, I'm feeling like I'm whole and I'm not having these triggering moments or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a different experience, it then shows you and reveals to you, no, you still have areas to grow in.
Yes.
And it was before even watching it back, going through it, I noticed that. I had to sit
Mm-hmm.
back and say, like, whoa, like this doesn't stop just because I declared that I'm whole or I had a good moment here. It
Yeah.
continues on. And I have to be open to continuing to
Yeah.
mold into the woman that I want to be and who I'm proud to be, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I found. Like it would be remiss of me to say like I can't even say it anymore. Like, oh, I'm whole. I'm working through wholeness
Yeah.
consistently, and that effort will continue to do that because I enjoy growth within myself.
Yeah.
And I want to be a blessing to others. Like coming in contact with me or being in relationship with me
Mm-hmm.
should be a blessing to you at all times.
Yeah.
And your growth should come from you because you are attached to me. So that's one of the biggest things
Yeah.
I didn't learn. Like
That's good. No,
having this
that's
process.
good. That's really good. Um, Last question. Kayla mentioned that there were things said about her to you that were unkind. Have you guys talked? Have you gotten to a good place? Are you guys, as women, you know, a lot of times there were a lot of things said that were weird to me on several seasons, but this season, not as much, but there were just, you know, women going back and forth at each other, which is not good to me. But are you and do you and Kayla get to a good place? And have you guys had, you know, have you guys had a chance to get to a better place than you were from what we saw at the reunion?
No, none of the women on the chair who was at Trinica and Kayla. I think the things that you continue to do and foster in negative comments, right? So after the fact, and as the show's airing, it's hard to not only go against what you all see as a viewer when you miss a lot of the behind the scenes, but then have to work through the things that are said from your own castmates that you know aren't real and know aren't true. Like at that point when you are working through imaginary things that you've come up with and have to like debunk, it's hard. Like I want to come here and I want to be able to talk to you about how I can grow as a person and what you've seen as a viewer. But I can't just do that. I also have to now talk through lies that have been said. You can't wait till what people see about you now to now say, oh, I wish you the best. Like the episodes have been done. We've been done filming, and I haven't heard that from either of them until now when people are calling you out. So it's hard though, because when you're operating in this silo, it always seems like it's coming out of this way because of a man. No, it's coming out of the things that you've done in a way that were like it tears everyone else down. Like I don't find happiness in watching you as a woman be sad. Nor do if I have to tell my truth. It sucks because in earlier interviews, when people mention other people, I don't have anything negative to say. So when you watch other people's interviews and see how it plays out and how you took those opportunities to dig deep, whether it was true or not true, is a problem.
Yeah.
You know? So,
but that speaks to their character more than yours, and really more to the situation. It just speaks to who they are. But I thought, and I'm surprised to hear that, because she did just say that she learned later that you were being told negative things about her that caused some of you guys friction. So maybe there's still an opportunity for you guys to talk. I mean, maybe,
on the 35th of February. Let's wrap.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Kayla has always had my number. Kayla has always had an opportunity to message me. She doesn't need a channel or any other way to reach me. And those opportunities, I think sometimes we miss them, and you can't slap me in the face and then ask me like later on, like, why are you upset about the slap? Stand 10 toes down about where you were. You know what I mean? It's true. You know what I mean? And is that going to now make me come back and be aggressive or have something to say to me, or now go like comments, negative comments that people say about you? No, because that's not the type of woman I am.
Yeah.
But if you have to do that, if that's what makes you best and sleep best at night, have it. So
yeah, I'm definitely not saying that y'all got to be friends or anything. I just wonder, but some people you do. It's better that you go your separate ways. And I love the fact
at this point, because now it just feels fake. It just feels, and I'm just not in the business, nor do I have time for fakeness. And I'm not accepting her over Randall. Throw the baby out with the bathwater. Everybody can go. Like at this point.
But sometimes it is the guy that causes that issue. But sometimes you also have to bid adieu to everybody. Just like
go yonder.
Go do you. Well, Jamala, I appreciate you hanging out. It's late as heck on a Monday night, but I definitely appreciate you. Keep doing you. Love is out there. I know you already know that. It is coming, and we are rooting for you. In the words of Tyra Banks, we're rooting for you. It's going to be fine.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. This has been a good conversation, Sister Talk here on Reality Check. We'll be back with more conversation. We're still wrapping up these Ready to Love interviews.
Can I
tell goodbye to Jamala? Kisses to Jamala. And all right, the rest of you, we will see on Friday for more Ready to Love. This has been your host, Crystal Jordan. Happy Halloween, you guys. I hope you stayed safe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.